Did you like the Last of Us series? I did. I'd say for me, it's like an 8 out of 10. I think it's a very good adaptation of the game, but I wasn't like enraptured by it. Maybe it's because I've played the game so much and I know everything that happens in it. It didn't feel as like visceral and crazy and engaging as the game did when I played it. The Bill and Frank episode was amazing. I wish they kind of did more of that where they adapted it to be more for TV. A lot of the rest of it was kind of similar to the game. I don't know, there's something about it that just didn't really... I wasn't like, holy shit, I can't wait for next week's episode. Maybe a lot of that was just the fact that I played it and I knew where the story was going, and I'm just not aware that that's the reason. But something about like the cinematography wasn't really wowing me either. There was a couple of instances, like the first episode where they're in the car. Well, Craig Mazin directed that episode and he's amazing. He's an incredible director. But then a lot of times it's like the camera work just felt like it was good, but it just felt like very by the books. There was nothing really, because I started watching Better Call Saul recently as well, and like the camera work in that is insane. He's just sitting down drinking coffee and it's like this film noir frame or something. It just looks so good and it's so inventive and creative. And Last of Us just felt a bit like reverse shot to me, which again works for the story, but it just, I don't know, it just didn't wow me. And I feel like Joel is fun in the show and Ellie is fun in the show, but part of me kind of liked them better in the game because they changed them a little bit. And certain scenes didn't really hit as hard. Like the scene where they're driving and it's alone and forsaken by faith and by man. And then when they crash and that song still goes and then it swells in even louder and the guy comes and grabs Joel out of it and grabs Ellie and then a whole brawl happens. Like that was far more subdued in the show and it was done a little differently. And when Ellie shoots the guy and saves Joel, in the game it's like Joel is about to die. He's getting like strangled or drowned and then suddenly you hear a gunshot and it's like, wait, what happened? Who got shot? Did the guy get shot? Did Joel shoot him? Did Joel get shot? And then it cuts and you see that Ellie has the gun. She's like, I really fucking shot that guy, huh? And then it's like, oh, big relax. And then in the show it was done way different where Joel's fighting with the guy, but you see Ellie coming for the gun and she picks it up and you see her walking with it for so long that I felt like the same sort of tension wasn't there. Like it's a big moment with Ellie killing her first person that you see in the game and the show. But like the game just seemed to do it, the pacing of it seemed different and a bit better. And then afterwards, because I talked to Neil about this, I had a call with him a couple of weeks ago to like talk about writing and stuff. And I've been meaning to like hang out with him a bit because after I did Last of Us 2, he DM'd me and we talked about meeting at the Game Awards and different things. And I talked to him. He's the writer for the game and he helped write some of the story for the show as well. And he was talking about how in the game there's stuff with like Joel and Ellie, how Joel can never say thank you. And when he turns to Ellie and is like, just so you know, it was either him or me back there. And she says, you're welcome. That's her reading between the lines to know that like she knows Joel well enough by now, probably better than the audience knows him, that she can read between the lines to know that that's him saying thank you. And some of those lines were kind of absent, and not just that scene, but some of the other scenes. Like some of the scenes were done a little differently where I'm like, I don't know if that really comes across the same way. I don't know. It's also a show, so you don't have the gameplay segments to kind of pad out the relationship. So I totally get that for some people it might have felt rushed, but you only think it feels rushed if you've played the game. If you just watch the show, it doesn't feel like that. Bella Ramsey crushed it as Ellie with the scenes, but they were just slightly different than, because when it comes to the game, I'm someone who repeats sounds a lot, and I hear the scenes from stuff that I've seen a lot of, almost like a song in my head, that I'm almost like reciting lyrics, and I know the ups and downs of it. I know when your voice is supposed to go up, when it's supposed to go down. I've like replicated them in my head. I've replicated them with my mouth so much that I have so much like, tonal memory with them that when they're done in the show slightly different, it bothers me. That like that scene where she's like, oh, how does he walk around with that thing? It's like, bye-bye, dude. Like I hear it in my head as Ashley Johnson so much that when it was different in the show, I was like, it's not the same. It just threw me off. I think they did an incredible job with it. I'm just getting turned away from it because I've played the game so much. But I think the people who watch the show without having played the game will like it so much. And I think, yeah, she said it wrong. She didn't say it the same way, which is the whole fucking point of it being a TV show and putting a new spin on these characters. Because Joel was a lot more vulnerable in the show than he was in the game. Not that you're doing the game different, it's that this is a different medium. And audiences react differently to these mediums. And not having gameplay segments to pad out that story and the characters and the conversations they have means that the show is always going to be different, and that's a good thing. It's good that things are different. And they set up Ellie's stuff a bit different, like her sort of fascination with the walkers and stuff, and she felt a bit more aggressive in certain ways. And they said in the podcast that that was to kind of like set up where Ellie goes in part 2, which I disagree with. Because I think having her be so incredibly tonally different from the first game to the second game was like whiplash, and that was the point of it. But again, I didn't make the game. I didn't make the show. I wasn't privy to those conversations. I wasn't privy to why they do the things they do, their stuff for it. And that's what art is all about, is that you agree and disagree on stuff. And even with Neil, when I was talking to him, I was like, I wouldn't have done that way. Because when I was playing part 2, I said, I would have done this and this. And then when I talked to him about it, he was like, no, see, the reason we did this was because of X, Y, and Z. And I was like, that's why you're the writer and I'm not, because I didn't think about that. Like, even a basic thing, like I was thinking, going between Ellie and Abby, would it have been better if you switched between their perspectives more often and got a better picture, because people got pissed off that you play so much as Ellie and then suddenly have to play so much as Abby. But then I thought about, wait, the upgrade system, and Neil told me that, well, if you switch between them, you would get your upgrades reset between them all the time, and that would be way more annoying from a gameplay standpoint. And I was like, right, I didn't fucking think of that, because I'm not the one making the game. And that makes total sense, because if you upgraded Ellie a whole tree of her upgrades and then went to Abby, suddenly Abby doesn't have those upgrades and you play completely differently. And it would just, I feel like, yeah, that probably would have been way more annoying. So you just play all of Ellie, get all the upgrades, then go back, start from 0, get all the upgrades again. And that makes more sense.